So for me, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, um, I had these recurring dreams or visions of me being led by a woman into a house that looked like a Victorian house. There was nothing around it except this, like a walkway through a gate, walk through the gate, and there's what I would call a Victorian house, you know, the one with the little turret to one side. Nice little A-frame house with a nice little porch outside. And she would lead me to it, walk in, and sometimes I'll go up the stairs to the left. Sometimes I'll go on the first floor to the left. On either floor, I would be led into an examination room where a doctor, looking like a Victorian doctor and all around me were like Victorian looking medical equipment, tables and whatnot, you know, everything looks very Victorian. The cabinets, the jars where they would store pharmaceuticals of the day, and they would examine me. And I had this many times. I asked my mother about it, and she said, "There's no such thing. I never took you to any such place, never." And then my parents realized that I was always interested in space, talking about space. I couldn't stop talking about space. They bought me a telescope. And I used to go out with my telescope, and one of the greatest joys of my early life, and I still remember, was when I actually found the Andromeda Galaxy with that telescope in Cassiopeia. And I just stared at it. And it was just a little disc because it was just a, you know, not a professional telescope, but something you give a kid. But I found it. And I used to stare up there. And I used to, you know what I used to ask myself? I used to ask myself, I wonder who's staring back at me, wondering if I'm staring at them. And that was just a profound experience for me. Later, as I grew into my teen years, we moved to a house, and for some reason outside of my bedroom, I wanted to plant sunflower seeds. And for the strangest reason, I said, I want to plant these sunflower seeds so they know where to find me, because I want them to find me. And sure enough, they found me. And I remember being lifted out of my bedroom through that screen window up into a craft. And I remember being held in the hands of some being. And this corridor was circular, and it was all lit up in like the most brilliant white without having any lights. And there the dream stopped. But guess what happened? The next day, there were markings on my body. There were markings on I could not explain. And then as I grew up in my older teen years, in my high school years, I actually had this dream or vision of being in a place where nothing but light beings around me. And then I was just floating with these fellow light beings. I felt like I was really home, that this is where I belong. And a voice came and said, came over and said, it's time for you to go back. Choose who do you want to be this time? Who do you want to be this time? And I looked over this field of, the only way I can describe it is imagine a giant infinite egg carton full of eggs. And instead of eggs, imagine that they're like spheres of different colors swirling around it, smoky colors, all brightly lit. And I picked one, it was blue and white. And I said, I want to be this one. And boom, I remember being born. And so that was just always been profound. And I've always had these inklings of what I'm going to do. I knew what school I was going to go to. I knew I would be married very late in life, which happened to me. I went to the school I thought I would go to. I knew I would be in the Navy, and I was in the Navy. And I also knew I was going to go to the CIA, because in the 7th or 8th grade, I had to write a vocational kind of essay. What do you want to be when you grow up? You remember those? And I was the only one that wanted to be a spy in the CIA. And everybody laughed at me, of course. They didn't laugh 25 years later at my class reunion. But, so I had that as well. And so something led me to CIA. Something did. And from there, I discovered a lot of many interesting things. Many things that you would consider maybe some aspects of disclosure, that things were actually true. And most recently, Convergence 2020, if you were participating in that, Mark Sims had a little session with his radios where he toned hue through the radios. And sure enough, there was a Close Encounter Sixth experience, where my wife and I saw over the Catalina Mountains of Tucson this brilliant white orb appear over the mountains. It blinked in, stayed for a few seconds, and blinked out. And both my wife and I received messages. And the message for me, and I have not revealed this before, but I'll reveal it to you. The message is that you have a message to share. You have knowledge to share, and we're waiting for you to share it. There will be a pathway. You will meet people. You will be participating in some way of being able to share these. And your purpose here, you need to make contact with an individual, because that individual is looking for you to make contact with them. You don't know who it is yet, but you will meet them and you will share with them something that they've been wondering about all their lives. And so that's my contact experience. And I'm sure many of you have had many profound ones just like that.